So welcome to another episode of the Behind the Host podcast. This is the mini-series on the Boostly podcast with me, Liam Carolan, and today we are diving into the business of Clark Anderson Properties, based in the east coast of Scotland. And today we're joined by the founder and CEO, Simon Anderson, and also Sandie Donaldson, the digital marketing executive. And we're going to be talking about their business. We're going to be talking about some of the things they've done to succeed in their business, which you may be able to pick up, sort of success stories and things that you can utilize to put into your hospitality business. So thank you for joining me, Simon and Sandie. Welcome along.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Good to
Thank
hear.
you.
If you'd just like to introduce the business and, sort of where you're based and what sort of thing that you cater for, what sort of hospitality business you are.
Yeah, of course. So Simon Anderson, I'm the Anderson of Clark Anderson. My business partner, Stuart Clark, is the other half. We are a holiday let management company. We started off with a few properties of our own and then slowly migrated into the management side of things. Based out in Dundee here personally is where the head office is, and we cover all of Scotland at the moment. We're trying to grow, particularly in areas such as Aberdeen, Glasgow, Edinburgh. Bit of a whirlwind the last few years. It's been good fun, and the team's grown since then, and we're fortunate enough to have Sandie on the team as well, and she can tell you a bit more about what she does.
So Sandie, yeah, thank you, Simon. Sandie, if you wanted to introduce yourself and what you do for Clark Anderson.
Yeah, so I started at Clark Anderson in November last year. And obviously, like Simon says, they have experienced significant growth in a short period of time, especially over COVID. So I think the main aim now is obviously you've got your OTAs that we're quite successful on at the moment, but thankfully we discovered Boostly, and now that I'm working towards just a kind of focus on direct bookings. So that's my main role in the business moving forward anyway.
How many properties are you on at the moment, Simon, that you look after and manage?
Well, we're currently sitting at 80, and I believe we're closing this month at 85.
Wow.
Stuart and the PMs, property managers, they look after that side of things. But yesterday, Stuart was saying that he's got another 5 lined up this week, which is fantastic. It's the team have got a lot to do with that. Everybody gets involved. Everybody is contributing in some way. But yeah, 85. It's hard to believe actually when we came in to last year with 12 properties. I don't even know where the time's gone. Kind of blinked and we're talking about 85 and saying we'll be talking about 100. That's happened.
There's a couple of points I wanted to dive into there. You mentioned your business partner, and how important is it to have defined different roles? Because there'll be a lot of people listening who want to have a business partner or are thinking about starting up a hospitality business with a business partner. What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, Stuart and I met and started the company in quite an unorthodox way. We won't give the full story, but the bullet points are that we met through a networking group, and we went for a coffee to catch up. That first time kind of meeting each other tends to be the usual, family, friends, what you into, the golf, the read, blah, blah, blah. And I actually can't quite remember how it came up, but we both discovered that we liked the idea of doing something in property. We were kind of speaking more about longer term in life. We might like the idea of flipping or developing or something like this. So after a couple of coffees, we landed on why don't we try something. We didn't have a whole lot of money to put into a flip, which means the return wouldn't have been fantastic. So we didn't really like the idea of that. Buy-to-lets weren't something we were too keen on. And then my background was hospitality. His background was corporate insurance. And we saw a way to kind of put them together. So we actually just kind of shook hands. And we still to this day don't have an agreement in place, but we're fairly committed now. So I'm pretty sure he won't leave me hanging, and I certainly won't do it to him. In terms of the question, so Stuart and I, right at the start, we just had an agreement that defining our roles were key. Yes, we're both 50-50, we're both co-owners, we're both directors. We have interchangeable titles. I have CEO, he is managing director. It doesn't mean that I'm hiring him or vice versa. They're the same. But we always said, you look after the sales, I'll look after the operation. We will make decisions together, But ultimately, when you define it into one of those, we have the final say. And if it goes wrong, there's no blame culture between us. It is what it is. We'll learn, we'll move on. And we've always stuck to that. So even earlier in this week, Stuart went out to see 2 properties from the same owner. He came back. He wasn't overly keen with them. There was a couple of things he was nervous about that would impact the guest experience. At that point, you might be thinking, well, hang on, it's another 2 properties, it's revenue, it's this, it's that. But ultimately, it's not the right decision for the company. And he decided we wouldn't be taking them forward. I haven't thought about it since. That was his decision. He believed it's best for the company, and we move on. Likewise, if I come to him and I say, I think we need a digital marketing executive, and I think we need 2 operations assistants, his head might be thinking, okay, sales, what's coming in? Do we have money for that? Can we make it work? Whereas I'm saying it needs to happen, otherwise we'll not be able to grow. He allows the decision to move forward, and it worked, which was great. If it hadn't, there wouldn't have been any blame culture. So I would definitely advise that you just have those open, candid chats, get everything on the table. Don't leave the table thinking, oh, he or she said this, but did they actually mean that? And make sure you're clear with your message. And I'm confident, like Stuart and I, it'll work, and you'll be able to grow together. And if there's any failures, you'll both learn from them and get on with it. How
excited were you when you started working for Clark Anderson about marketing, sort of the hospitality company?
Really excited, actually. I've worked in marketing for about 5-6 years, but it was a new industry for me. Mm-hmm. So I've learned a lot in the past few months, but I really enjoy it, and I think there's a good energy in this kind of industry, and especially after coming out of what was a difficult time for maybe tourism overall, and because they've obviously experienced that growth, it is a fun place to work. And when Simon was explaining there about the relationship they have, the 2 partners.
When it comes down to some of the things which make Clark Anderson different, I know on the website one of the things that is promoted is the concierge sort of services and the sort of digital guides and that side of things. Talk me through how they work. So if I'm a guest looking to book, how does that work with Clark Anderson?
Yeah, so it's all incorporated into our automatic responses. So 24 hours before they check in, they'll get a link to our digital air guide. So I actually think it's a brilliant tool that we have one for each property, and then that allows you to have all of your troubleshooting, Wi-Fi, heating, whatever, your check-in instructions, but then you can also include the local area recommendations, food, drink, places to go, people, anything around that area. So yeah, brilliant tool. And although I'm bigging up air guide, and I would never want to step away from that as a company, and I know the word digital is in my job title, I do still think that it is, there's no harm in also having point of sale in the actual property itself, and especially when it's Airbnb and you're so strict on, you can't openly speak to the guest. It's sometimes quite nice to just leave, like even a little card or something in the property to say, follow us on social media, or here's our, go online and look at our air guide. And it's almost just kind of reminding them to move to go from what's in front of them to, we've got so much information that we can also give you, and it's just a click away.
Having a blast, gonna get it on the Bruce Lee podcast. Bruce Lee like Bruce Lee, cause it's so hard and the T is loose leaf. Making up those rhymes, don't write it, just do it loosely.